Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is the webinar about applying to the Bonsucro Impact Fund calls during 2024. Just to run through our agenda and to introduce myself, I'm Sophie, the Impact Funding Manager at Bonsucro, and I'll be leading this webinar today. Our agenda is as follows. We will start talking about the housekeeping and an introduction to the Bonsucro Impact Fund. I'll then talk you through the call for proposals and how to apply. We will hear from one of our members of the Project Selection Committee, which is Mike, to hear their reflections on what they are looking for when they assess and select the applications. And I'll then talk you through some tips on how to submit a sound application. We will then have questions and answers at the end, so please do add your questions to the Q&A function. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. So in terms of housekeeping, please use the chat to introduce yourself, and you can tell us if you've applied to the Bonsucro Impact Fund before. The session will be recorded, and if you have any tech problems, please message us. Recordings of the session will be available afterwards and available in the 3 languages. And as I said, use the Q&A function to add your questions and we will try to answer them all at the end. We do have live interpretation available into Spanish and Portuguese. Please click on the globe button to start the interpretation audio in your chosen language. So I'm going to talk through a little bit about the Bonsucro Impact Fund now. So the Bonsucro Impact Fund, or the BIF for short, supports our members to identify the challenges in the sugarcane sector, and we also offer our members the chance to apply for funds. We aim to invest in projects that can accelerate sustainable sugarcane production, aligning with the Bonsucro strategy for 2021 to 2026. We're looking for projects that are collaborative and innovative, projects that demonstrate potential for scale, projects that address selected cross-cutting themes, and projects that take place in one of our priority countries. The Bonsucro Impact Fund has been running for 2 years now and is funded solely from the transaction fee for credit trades. We have so far launched 6 calls for proposals. We have received 71 applications and funded 14 projects across 13 countries, and we have allocated grants of over £1 billion. Here you can see projects funded under the water stewardship theme. I'll not go into detail of each of the projects, otherwise we would be here all day, as we have lots of projects. But if you do want to find out more, please have a look at the website, and you'll see that each project has its own web page, so you can find out more about them. So these are the full projects in underwater. These are the projects under human rights and decent work. And we have these projects under smallholder theme and these under climate action. As I mentioned earlier, the grants awarded are funded via the investment from the Bonsucro credit trades. And we offer credit trades for certified sugar, raw sugar, molasses, and ethanol. We're lucky to have some global brands and traders purchasing our credit trades, which helps us to invest in these important projects. Bonsucro credits are an important approach for us to reward producers from certified mills and farms, to drive impact through the investment in the Bonsucro Impact Fund, and also to facilitate buying credits so that members can achieve their sustainable procurement targets. So now I'm going to talk a bit more in depth about the year 3 call for proposals. So we have 2 calls for proposals that are coming out in 2024. One has already been launched, as I'm sure you're aware. That one is titled Collective Action to Combat Forced Labour and Child Labour in the Sugarcane Sector. Concept notes must be submitted before the deadline of 26th of June. We also plan to launch a call for proposal later in the year focused on soil health, and all the eligibility rules and grant making process will be the same for that one as well. So what grants are we offering? Under this call for proposal for human rights, we are offering an impact grant of up to £150,000. This is for a project of 18 to 36 months duration, and we will be seeking a project that will deliver tangible results and impact for sugarcane communities. We also seek to enhance knowledge and learning for the whole sector, and that goes for all the projects under the Bonsucro Impact Fund. To be eligible, projects must align with the principles and thresholds set out in the Bonsucro production standard and contribute towards our strategy. Projects that address gender and/or vulnerable groups will also be prioritised. The Project Selection Committee will be assessing and selecting proposals according to the following assessment criteria: collaboration and convening, sound theory of change and methodology, participation and involvement of local stakeholders, measurability and impact, vision of scalability. To be eligible for a grant, the lead applicant must be a Bonsucro member and comply with all membership requirements. We're especially looking for consortia that include multiple members. Consortium must include minimum 3 partners, including 1 lead. Activities must take place in one of the eligible countries, as defined by the US Department of Labour high-risk countries list for forced and child labour in sugarcane. Projects must also be co-funded to a minimum of 50%. This can be through in-kind funding or cash funding from the partners or from the lead. We would like to see value for money and applications that aim to achieve innovation and catalyse interventions. We really would like to see collaborations between brands, end users, and mills associations, especially brands or end users being heavily involved and committed to the project, providing cash match funding. So how to apply? The Bonsucro Impact Fund grant making is a competitive 2-stage process. Firstly, a concept note is submitted. If the concept note is shortlisted, you will then be asked to submit a full proposal. We generally provide feedback to be considered in this full proposal. If a concept note is not shortlisted, we'll inform you and provide feedback so that you can improve your application. After a full proposal is submitted, applications that are selected by the Project Selection Committee will then be put through our due diligence checks, and we will seek approval from the board. Only at that point will we be able to award a grant. If your application is not successful at 2nd stage, we will provide you with detailed feedback. So to apply for the Bonsucro Impact Fund, you will need to submit your concept note via the online form. The online form is a new process we're using this year. It is very similar to the annual member report online form. Please note that only members will be able to access the online form. Text boxes for each response to the questions have word limits, so please keep this in mind. If you would like to prepare your answers offline, you can download the concept note via the Bonsucro Impact Fund webpage. You can submit your concept note in English, Spanish, or Portuguese. The image on the right shows you how the online form looks when you click the link. To apply, in the following slide, I can show you a demonstration video of how to access the online form. Basically, you need to access the online form and submit your membership number, and then it will send you an email to verify the contact, and then it will provide you with a link to then go in and submit the form. But we can make those videos shareable, and so you'll be able to watch them in your own time.
And then, Sophie, I know we're going to do questions at the end, but there are quite a few questions around eligibility, country eligibility.
Okay.
So perhaps if there is a list of countries and where they can be found, so people can check the eligibility for this particular call.
Yes, the eligibility is in the call for proposals, and it is very much linked to the US Department of Labour high risk list. If there's a particular question on that, we can take that offline, or we can discuss that later. We will now hear from one of the members of the Project Selection Committee, Mike to hear his reflections on what he considers a sound application. Over to you, Mike.
Sophie, thank you very much, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone around the world. I'm relatively inexperienced on this. I had the opportunity to sit on a selection committee for the last call, but I think it's probably just a good idea to share a few points. So before I start, I'd just like to congratulate Sophie and the fund in the number of calls that are out there at the moment. I think many of you might think that giving away money is an easy task, but it really isn't very easy. And there's a lot of responsibility that goes with it. So to be able to grow the impact fund to where it is has taken a lot of time and a lot of hard work. What that has meant is that the number of calls that are out there, the number of projects that are being managed goes up exponentially. And it's a word we use quite a lot, but actually in this case it does every year. So from a selection committee point of view, really my first piece of advice is when you're submitting a proposal, make it as easy as you can for the selection committee to choose your project. And I know that that sounds quite easy, but that's the reality. We're going to be going through a number of different projects. And when you do go through a number of different projects, it's amazing how they all blur into one, especially when you're talking about a global audience. So make it easy for the committee to remember your project. I think importantly for me when going through it is the key principles that Sophie mentioned. We are a members organization. Collaboration and innovation is really key in everything we do at Bonsucro. And I think the other thing is how easy it is to scale. So understanding local context is important, but also how do we bring these ideas to scale? And then I think that some advice to anyone that's putting in a proposal is have a read of the Bonsucro strategic plan, because all of these things should be moving towards Bonsucro and its members achieving its strategic plan. So have a read of the strategic plan and just see for this particular call, strategic objectives around the Bonsucro strategic plan. That will definitely stand your proposal in good stead. I think from my past experience of looking at these things, it's really important that you clearly state the problem that you're trying to solve. So quite often what happens is because you know your subject matter, you know your context very, very well, you go straight into writing the proposal, but putting down the exact problem that you want to solve is really important, because that's one way of us deciding whether the activities and the outcomes will actually solve that problem. And just a bit of an aside, make sure that that problem is actually linked to the call. So last year we were evaluating the climate adaptation call, and there were one or two proposals where I used the word search function for adaptation, the word adaptation, and it didn't actually feature once in the proposal. So that really just showed me that it wasn't actually the problem, and what the project was about wasn't aligned with the call. And then finally, and I think it's not going to be so much of a problem with the new, but be concise. Before we had the electronic format, which I understand Sophie is going to cut off the number of words that you can put into an application, we did have people overshooting the mark. And if you are going to do justice to the evaluation, you have to read the whole thing. So be concise, be as clear as you can, help us to remember your proposal, and you'll have the best chance of getting shortlisted. So good luck, and again to Sophie and the whole BIF team, congratulations. We look forward to seeing and evaluating some interesting proposals out of this call. Thanks a lot.
Great, thank you, Mike. Okay, now I'm going to talk through a few tips on presenting a sound application. to the Bonsucro Impact Fund. So here are some general tips. Some of these tips may sound obvious, but please remember that the Project Selection Committee can only assess and select applications on what is included in your concept notes. So we can't make assumptions, we can't add in any of the gaps. So they really only looking at what is submitted within your concept note. Please ensure you read the call for proposals thoroughly, including the eligibility requirements, what we will and will not fund, the co-funding requirement, and the geographic eligibility. Only members, as I said, can apply as the lead applicant. Your project should be addressing a problem. Please ensure the problem statement is clear and you explain the local context and how this affects the communities. Your project should have a clear logic. For example, if you do one thing, this should result in another. Keep in mind that the Bonsucro strategy and consider how your project will support its achievement. You can also refer to the monitoring, evaluation and learning guidance on our webpage, which is specific for the Bonsucro Impact Fund, and think about the key objectives of your project. What change will you aim to make? Think about who are the stakeholders and who are your partners, why you have chosen them and which groups they can influence or work closely with. Why would this project create learning that is valuable to the rest of the Bonsucro network? Okay, and when you develop your application, obviously think about how your project can meet the following criteria that we've mentioned previously. This is the assessment criteria that the Project Selection Committee will be scoring and selecting against. So we have collaboration, convening, so working in new partnerships, bringing stakeholders and actors together. Sound theory of change, so developing a robust logic to achieve change to tackle a relevant problem. Participation and involvement of local stakeholders, an initiative that is rooted in local participation and has local buy-in. Measurability and impact, the achievements of the project can be clearly measured and present value for investment. And a vision of scalability, a solution that has potential to be replicated or scaled to benefit more stakeholders, potentially into another region, text or country, and has applicability elsewhere. Please do get in touch with your regional contact to discuss your idea and your proposal. They will be able to provide focused advice and support you on identifying partners. Other ways to also engage with us at the Bonsucro Global Week booth. We will be exhibiting in the exhibition area and at the Bonsucro Global Week panel session and through any one-to-one meetings that can be requested with me. Okay, now we move into the Q&A section. If there is any more detailed questions that you'd prefer to send me offline, please feel free to do that at fund@bonsucro.com. Okay. So how many questions have we got? We've got 4 questions. Okay, I'll start from the top. So Shubham Trivedi, you've asked a few questions here. Do all applicants need to be members, or is membership required only for the lead applicant as stated? So it is not necessary that all the applicants, all the partners on an application are members, but the lead applicant must be a member. But if you do include members in your consortium, then that would be considered favourable by the Project Selection Committee. Payment terms, co-funding. Does the co-funding amount need to come from all 3 or more organisations involved in the project? No, it does not. Need to come from all 3 of the partners. Payment schedule. Should the co-funding be paid in a lump sum or in tranches over a specific period? Again, we're flexible on that. Yeah, there's no particular requirements for that one. Okay. Hopefully that's answered all Shubham's questions. Next, Dr. Amjad Rahman, being a subnational government department, not a member, then how to apply for a project from Pakistan. Okay, so I believe the best way to apply would be to explore a partnership with someone who may be a member in Pakistan. That would be my suggestion, but perhaps we can take that offline if you'd like to discuss that more. Okay, Coralia de la Cadena. If a Bonsucro partner is not from a prioritized country, could they participate? Yes, they can. In my earlier slide, looking at the geographic priorities, they are related to the activities rather than where the Bonsucro member is registered as an entity. So maybe your office may be based in one country and the activities taking place in another country. Okay. Okay, another question has come through. Nandini Sharma, does Bonsucro receive the matching fund amount? Is it through the FCRA route? So the match funding does not come to Bonsucro. It would go from the partners to the lead applicant or to whoever is using that particular amount of the grant budget. The FCRA route, I'm assuming, is related to a tax stream. Nandini, if I haven't answered your question, please come back to me offline. Okay, I've got another one, anonymous. Can a project be submitted even though the activity will take place in a non-priority country? It would be good to know which country we're talking about here. The focus of the call is very much on the high-risk countries that the US Department of Labor have highlighted for child and forced labor. So if there is a particular country you're thinking about, then it would probably be best to talk about this. Ecuador. Okay, I think we'll have to take that one offline. I think that we would have to keep to the rules on that one. Okay. Anna Bexel from Proforest, a country on DOL list of countries that have only one risk, like child labour, but not forced labour. Is it still in scope for the application? Like India only have child labour as risk and Pakistan only forced labour. Oh, okay. Yeah, very good question, Anna. I think we could consider it, but let me get back to you on that one. So Pakistan, forced labour, and India, child labour. Yeah. Okay. Well, I will look into it and come back to you. Okay. Next one, Jose Lemus. What are the other available funds? So we will be running a call for a proposal later in the year on soil health. I think the granting amount for that one is slightly bigger than this one, but we do have flexibility under this one. So we have said a minimum of one grant, one impact grant under this call for human rights and decent work. However, we do have flexibility if we receive more applications that are really, really strong, then we do have some flexibility to fund more than one impact grant or one grant. And the soil health call probably will come around July, August. And I believe from memory, it's around £250,000, £300,000 in total for granting budget. But that will be for numerous projects. That will probably be for three projects. Okay. Nandini Sharma, is there any other criteria for selecting a lead applicant? For instance, is the lead applicant expected to provide match funding or hold the maximum share of the funds? So the lead applicant must be a member and must be in compliance with all our membership requirements. So, for example, submit your annual member reports, have any grievances or complaints against you within the Bonsucro system, and have paid all your membership fees up to date. Then, in terms of other expectations, the grant agreement that we sign is a bilateral grant agreement between Bonsucro and the lead applicant. So it's one organisation to one organisation. So the accountability for the grant in terms of reporting and managing the funds all lies with that one organisation who is the lead applicant. In terms of the process that we go through a grant management due diligence process, which is different to the Bonsucro membership due diligence process. So that is looking at your accounting systems, your experience of managing grants in the past, your policies regarding procurement and auditing, those kind of things around the financial management and staff management. So there isn't a requirement around the match funding coming from the lead applicant or coming from any particular applicant. I would say that usually the lead applicant does provide some co-funding either in kind or in cash. That is usually the way that that's usually what we see. But I think those things, keep in mind that the lead applicant will be the one signing the contract with Bonsucro. I hope that answers your question. There are many questions in the chat. Yeah, I'm coming to them. What would qualify as in-kind contribution? In-kind contribution would be any type of resource that you are committing to the project. So that usually is around staff time. It may also be things like particular agriculture inputs. It might be workshop space, venue space, things like that that already exist that you are providing to the project. Okay, right, coming to the chat now. Mike, is there anything that you've seen come up numerous times that we should try to cover off?
There are a couple there just from La Isla, just around repeat grants.
Okay, hold on.
Have you got that there? I can read it to you.
I'm just trying to get to it. Okay, Robert Thomas. Okay, are organisations who have been funded already at a disadvantage? Will preference be given to applicants who have not been funded? Hi, Robert. No, there is no rules around funding applicants more than once, so you wouldn't be at a disadvantage. Oh, my chat is moving very fast. Okay, Charu Chowdhury, it's a year 3 project, and how is it linked with year 1 and year 2? And how and if we need to link year 1 and year 2 with year 3? Okay, so I think you're talking about exchanging learning between the projects. So we do facilitate a community of practice, which we will continue to do from this year onwards. And we will be encouraging the keys from earlier years and the new grantees to be exchanging within that community of practice. Can the proposal be made for 18 or 36 months based on the priority? Yes, so the duration is 18 to 36 months, so you can decide if you prefer to do 18 months or 36 months or anything in between, depending on the type of project it is, depending how quick you expect to see results, things like that. Okay. And I understand we've still got a question about Ecuador and India and Pakistan. I think for Ecuador, I will have to come back to you. Was there any other? Oh, another 5 questions. Okay, Jose, you asked me, can we apply to innovation funds? If possible, what the deadline would be? The Bonsucro Impact Fund, this call for proposal is looking for impact projects, which are of longer duration than our innovation grants. And we're looking for tangible results under the impact grants. I hope that's what you meant by innovation funds. I'm not completely sure. Let me know if that has answered your question or not. And Ecuador, we will have to, I think we'll have to take that offline, Coralia. Okay, and Argentina as well? Okay, so Argentina and Ecuador, both questions. Okay. Anything else, Mike, that I've missed from my quick scan?
But Sophie, I don't think so. I think you've captured everything that's up at the moment.
Okay, perfect. All right. Should we just give it a few more minutes if there's any other questions that come in? Okay, Shahzad. Can a member company apply for the grant independently or have to align other entities? Yes, so it is a requirement that applications come from an applicant, a lead applicant, and co-applicants, a minimum of 3 within the consortia. So, for example, you would need to be 1 member plus 2 other partners. And that really is key to our collaboration and convening assessment criteria. If you complete the form without 3 organizations being listed, it won't come through. It will be screened out as ineligible. Okay. Nandini Sharma, would the grant be FCRA money? FCRA money, not entirely sure. Is this related to tax exemption funds? I would need to look at that particular tax rule and come back to you. I suggest you drop me an email, fund at, and I can come back to you. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Just 2 more minutes for any more questions. Okay. Anonymous, can we submit the concept note with a to be confirmed on the partners in case we don't have a formal okay from them by the deadline? I think I would probably advise against that, because if you think that the project selection committee will be assessing your application against other applications, if the other applications do have all their partners in place, then that would swing to their favour. I think really that would be a last case, a last resort kind of decision. I think it would be best to have them listed, because also that will be a consideration of the project selection committee in terms of who your partners are and how best placed they are to be included, to be part of the project. Mike, do you want to say anything about that?
I would agree with you. I think that partners is one of the foundation elements of a project. So I think it'd be really important to get that signed before the deadline.
Yeah. And just to say that we don't require an official partnership agreement or letter of intent or anything like that at the concept note stage. But we are considering at full proposal stage this year to require some kind of letter of commitment. But that would be at the full proposal stage. Okay, Nandini, how long does it take to become a Bonsucro member? Typically, we are an NGO. Mike, you might know better than me. I think the minimum, the candidacy is 6 weeks.
30 days candidacy. So if you filled in the form tomorrow, there's a due diligence process that takes 30 days, and then you have the opportunity to pay your membership fees, and provided everything's in order, you can become a member. So yeah, realistically 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's move on then. If there's any further questions, then please feel free to email me and I'll come back to you. So we're now coming to the end of the webinar. Before you all drop off, please can I urge you to take a few minutes to complete the survey, which I've just pasted in the chat. That is so that we can continue to improve the webinars and the information that we offer to our members. And thank you so much for your participation. The recordings will be available in the 3 languages. And like I said, please do complete the survey. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
everyone.
all.